Hi everyone, Andy Wolverton here at Journeys in Darkness and Light, and it's time for another month of new film noir and neo-noir releases on Blu-ray. If you're like me, you're probably still reeling from all the film noir releases from last month, so July gives us a bit of a break, sort of. There's a bit of action early in the month, but the bottom falls out on July the 19th with another flood of new releases. But let's get the month started with a movie that doesn't get talked about much, but it's got a great producer, an impressive cast, and is based on a novel by one of my favorite crime writers, Charles Willeford. From 1990, coming to us from MVD Visual and their Rewind collection, it's Miami Blues, directed by George Armitage. Alec Baldwin plays Junior Fringer, a psychopath just out of prison in California, starting over in Miami. It's not long before Junior is up to his old tricks and commits murder. Then he hooks up, literally, with a prostitute named Susie, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh. But Police Sergeant Hoke Mosley, played by Fred Ward, is on to Junior. But maybe Junior's on to him. This is a neo-noir with strong elements of black comedy, which is true of most of Charles Willeford's work. The film was produced by Jonathan Demme, who almost directed the film, which is a story I hope they cover in the disc's only supplemental feature, an interview with Alec Baldwin and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Besides that, you've got trailers, TV spots, a photo gallery, a mini poster, and reversible artwork. Next, we've got a box set, Film Noir, The Dark Side of Cinema, Volume 8, 1942 to 1946, another Blu-ray collection from Kino Lorber. Now, all of these films are new 2K restorations. We kick off the set with Street of Chance from 1942, directed by Jack Hively. Based on the novel The Black Curtain by Cornell Woolrich, Street of Chance is another movie that takes advantage of a malady that seems to strike many noir protagonists, amnesia. When a piece of falling debris hits him on the head, Frank Thompson, played by Burgess Meredith, realizes that he's been living in a fog for the past year. Attempting to put his life back together, Frank soon discovers that he's wanted for murder under the name Danny Nearing, the identity he had during his fugue state. A woman named Ruth, played by Claire Trevor, tells Frank that they were lovers while he was Danny. Together, will they be able to solve the murder before the cops grab Frank? This is a fun, quick noir at only 74 minutes and includes a new audio commentary by professor and film scholar Jason A. Nye. Next, we have Enter Arsène Lupin from 1944, directed by Ford Beebe. Charles Corvin plays a French jewel thief who discovers that he's on board a train with a rich heiress, played by Ella Raines. After stealing a valuable emerald from her, something odd happens. He helps her to find it. What? J. Carrol Naish plays a French detective trying to nab Lupin, but Lupin isn't the only person trying to fleece the heiress. There were two earlier Lupin pictures with John Barrymore and Melvyn Douglas. This one's on the lighter side, probably not what we would typically think of as film noir, but it's entertaining. This release also includes a new audio commentary by film critic Anthony Slide. And we close out Volume 8 with a period noir, Temptation, from 1946, directed by Irving Pichel. Temptation is set at the end of the 19th century with Merle Oberon playing Ruby, a woman who moves to Egypt with her Egyptologist husband, Nigel, played by George Brent. While Nigel's away, Ruby decides to do some exploration of her own, may we say, with a man named Baruti, played by Charles Corvin. Temptation shares some elements with a far better film, The Letter, from 1940, but the film includes one of my favorite character actors, Arnold Moss. The disc also includes a new audio commentary by film critic Kelly Robinson. I'm not as excited about this set as I have been with some of the other ones from Kino Lorber, but maybe this will surprise me. We've got several more films released on July the 19th, including Desperate Hours from 1990, directed by Michael Cimino, another release from MVD Visual and their Rewind collection. Of course, this is a remake of the 1955 film The Desperate Hours, directed by William Wyler, starring Humphrey Bogart and Frederick March. Like the original, this is a home invasion story of escaped convict Michael Bosworth, played by Mickey Rourke, who slips into the home of Tim and Nora Cornell, played by Anthony Hopkins and Mimi Rogers, respectively, holding them hostage until Bosworth's lawyer/accomplice, played by Kelly Lynch, can arrive to pick him up. This was originally released on Blu-ray in 2016 from Shout Factory. I'll be honest, I don't like this film, and I don't know many people who do, but if you're interested, take a look. If you're a fan of Michael Cimino, I can recommend the new book, Cimino, The Deer Hunter, Heaven's Gate, and the Price of a Vision by Charles Elton. That book does spend a considerable amount of time talking about Desperate Hours, what went right, what went wrong. Extras on the Blu-ray include a 6-minute behind-the-scenes featurette, a trailer, photo gallery, all of which seem to be ported over from the Shout Factory release. Also a collectible mini poster, reversible artwork, and a limited edition slipcover. I'm very excited to see a movie that was shown at Noir City a few years ago and recently aired on Noir Alley, now available on Blu-ray. Native Son from 1951, directed by Pierre Chenal, coming to us from Kino Lorber. Based on the famous 1940 novel by Richard Wright, who was very much into crime fiction and noir themes, which are reflected in the novel and the film. Here's something you don't see every day. Not only an African American starring in a film noir, but also the author plays the main character in the film. Wright plays Bigger Thomas, a man who lives in an inner-city Chicago tenement with his mom and 2 younger siblings. To make ends meet, Bigger resorts to a life of crime, but goes on the level when he gets a chauffeur job for the well-to-do white Dalton family, which includes the reckless Mary Dalton, played by Gene Wallace. I won't tell you what happens, but Bigger finds himself in some deep trouble. The film was heavily censored and criticized at the time of release, and a heavily ripped-up version is the one that most people saw. This edition, however, is the original full version restored by the Library of Congress. The disc contains at least one extra, an introduction by Eddie Muller, but for a film with so much history behind it, let's hope there's more extras. While we're on the subject of African American actors, let's talk about one of the best, Sidney Poitier. In a crime double feature, They Call Me Mr. Tibbs from 1970, directed by Gordon Douglas, and The Organization from 1971, directed by Don Medford. This is a single disc coming to us from Kino Lorber. They Call Me Mr. Tibbs is something of a sequel to In the Heat of the Night, the 1968 blockbuster. Rather than being set in Philadelphia or Sparta, Mississippi, Virgil Tibbs is now a San Francisco detective investigating the murder of a call girl. There is plenty of good people working here, including actors Anthony Zerbe, Martin Landau, Barbara McNair, Ed Asner, Jeff Corey, John Hillerman, and Juano Hernandez. But it's unfortunately an unremarkable police procedural that tries too hard to engage in social commentary. The Organization, with Tibbs teaming up with a vigilante group to help stop a ring of San Francisco drug smugglers, is even less effective than They Call Me Mr. Tibbs. Both of these films are mostly routine, failing to give Poitier and his talents enough to do and enough believable people for him to go up against. Both scripts are pretty disappointing, but if you're a fan of Poitier, you should consider picking this release up. Both of these films were released individually from Kino back in 2015. Those discs contained only trailers as extras, and there's no indication that this double feature has added anything. On July 19th, we also have a 4K and a Blu-ray release of one of my favorite movies from the 90s, Devil in a Blue Dress from 1995, directed by Carl Franklin. This comes to us from Criterion. I wrote an essay on the film in the Dark Pages a while back, and a separate review which I will link to. The film has appeared on Blu-ray from Twilight Time in 2015 and Indicator in 2020. This Criterion release is struck from a new 4K restoration approved by director Carl Franklin and appears to contain new and previously released extras, including an archival audio commentary with Franklin, new conversations between Franklin and actor Don Cheadle, another new conversation between Walter Mosley, author of the source novel, and novelist/screenwriter Attica Locke. There's also an archival on-stage conversation between Franklin and Eddie Muller, recorded at the 2018 Noir City Festival in Chicago, a screen test for Cheadle, a trailer, and an essay by film critic Julian Kimball. Now let's take a look at one entry from July 25th. In 1971, one of the great British crime novels was adapted into one of the great British crime films, Get Carter, directed by Mike Hodges. This comes to us from the BFI in two versions, a 2-disc set with a 4K Ultra disc and a Blu-ray of extras, and a 2-disc Blu-ray set. Of course, 4K Ultras are region-free, but the standard Blu-rays are region B. Michael Caine plays Jack Carter, a London gangster returning to his hometown of Newcastle to find out who killed his brother Frank. Now, there's much more to the film, including Michael Caine's extraordinary performance, but I'm sure many of you are already familiar with the film. If you already own the Warner Brothers Blu-ray from 2014, trust me, you're going to want to get this one. The extras on this release are fantastic. First, this is a new 4K restoration. Second, you get 5 new extras. Director Mike Hodges in conversation from 2022, Johnny Trunk on Roy Budd, the founder of cult label Trunk Records, who revisits the iconic Roy Budd score, an interview with actress Petra Markham from 2022, recalling her work on the film, and an interview with Tony Klinger, the son of the film's producer Michael Klinger, from 2022. Archival extras include the audio commentary with Michael Caine, Mike Hodges, and Wolfgang Schuschitsky, Roy Budd's isolated musical score, a 33-minute film called The Ship Hotel, Tyne, Maine, about a pub on the banks of the River Tyne, and the colorful cast of characters who frequent it. 2 trailers, a special message from Michael Caine to premiere audiences in 1971, a script gallery, an 80-page perfect bound book with new writing by Mark Kermode, Tim Palin, John Oliver, and Jason Wood, and much more. There's also a double-sided poster featuring the original US 1 sheet and the original UK quad, and a set of postcards featuring iconic characters from the film. Listen, don't miss this one. July 26th brings us more releases. First, a new 4K title, The Killing from 1956, from Stanley Kubrick, and Kino Lorber is bringing this to us. Now, you're apparently getting only a 4K Ultra disc, which contains a new audio commentary by writer and film historian Alan K. Rode, and a theatrical trailer. Now, I've seen many online posts about and a lot of excitement for this next release, a film that's gone virtually unseen for over 40 years. I'm talking about Out of the Blue from 1980, directed by Dennis Hopper. This comes to us from Severin Films in 2 editions, a Blu-ray 2-disc set, and a 4K Ultra disc, and a Blu-ray. Linda Mons plays Seabee, a 15-year-old with an ex-convict dad, played by Dennis Hopper, and a junkie mom, played by Sharon Farrell. Seabee becomes interested in both Elvis and punk rock and finds she's gaining the attention of druggies and predators. Now, I haven't seen this movie yet, but it's been called Dennis Hopper's masterpiece, as well as one of the greatest teenage performances of all time. This release was taken from a new 4K restoration from the original camera negative, and the package is incredible with over 15 hours of special features, more than 4 of which have been produced exclusively for this release. The 3 audio commentaries alone are worth the price. We've got one with Dennis Hopper, executive producer Paul Lewis, and distributor John Allen Simon. Another with film scholar Kate Renenbaum, and a third with film writer Kat Ellinger. Tons of interviews, including a 1984 interview with Dennis Hopper, 11 cast and crew interviews, and 6 new interviews with Hopper's friends and colleagues, including Ethan Hawke, Richard Linklater, Philippe Mora, and Julian Schnabel. There's also an AFI Q&A with 4K restoration producers John Allen Simon and Elizabeth Carr, and much, much more. I'll link to the complete list of extras in the notes. Know that this is a region-free release. And here's a reissue in case you missed it back in 2018. That Blu-ray went out of print and now it's back. I'm talking about Raw Deal from 1948, directed by Anthony Mann and shot by John Alton. This comes to us from Classic Flicks. I'll link to a review of this one as well. This should have the same extras as the previous release, which included an audio commentary by author and film historian Jeremy Arnold, a featurette called Deadly is the Male, The Making of Raw Deal, with Alan K. Rhodey and Julie Kurgo, Dennis O'Keefe, An Extraordinary Ordinary Guy, with Alan Rhodey again, this time with O'Keefe's son James, also a restoration demonstration, and an image gallery. I'm also assuming we get the original booklet with an essay and archival stills. And that's going to do it for July. Quite a bit, but if I missed anything, please let me know. Know that release dates often change, and if I hear of anything that is different from what I've told you today, I'll be sure to update things in the description. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.